Good morning or good evening, depending on when you're viewing this. My name is Derek Mullins, and this is my creative critical reflection of Survivor's Guild. Now, what is Survivor's Guild? Guild is a film that me and my fellow filmmakers, Joels Combs, Yariel Marte, and Nathan Gale, have all come together to create. And what we wanted to do was almost pay homage to our influences and really incorporate and divert from norms that we've seen, yet also paying homage to those influences. And those biggest influences being Kendrick Lamar's music, specifically his albums To Pimp a Butterfly and Good Kid, Mad City, as well as the movies Boys in the Hood and Men's to Society. But unlike those four examples, those pieces of media, this takes place not in Los Angeles, California, but rather South Florida, specifically Broward County, Florida, because that's where all of us are from. So it gives us an ability to speak upon uh, experiences that we all have. And with the film taking place in South Florida, we got to base these characters off of people that we actually know, people that we've known, family members, relatives, people that we've actually interacted with. So we got to bring that level of authenticity to this film, which we really like to hone in on because we really wanted to flesh out these characters and their regional identity because that's what makes them so unique. And what we did to do that was um, the biggest thing that we did was the names and their voices. Now the character on the left, the pale skin character, me, his name is Doubleback or DB for short because he has a stutter. Now if you're from South Florida, then you know if you have some sort of quirk, people would most definitely call you out on it, and it's entirely possible that it'll become a nickname. And especially, it's very common to see people with nicknames that are abbreviations. Um, and then the character on the right, the darker skinned fellow, his name is ZB or Zoe, and that is a term that South Floridians, especially in Broward County, use to refer to people of Haitian descent. It's almost a term of endearment. You refer to your Haitian friends as Zoe. So we brought that out into these characters just to give them life and accuracy and create an accurate depiction of what it is to be like in South Florida. And as for the name Survivor's Guild, that is in and of itself a reference to much of Kendrick Lamar's music, where he speaks upon having Survivor's Guilt, and it's something that we can all attest to. The feeling of losing somebody, knowing somebody that's lost someone. And we really wanted to take that and imbue it into this film. That feeling of being here while others aren't. And it kind of that plays into how we've breached conventions. Usage and challenging of conventions. Now, to start, our film opens with a kind of conventional, the character is sleeping, they're snoring, and then they're awoken by an alarm. That is an opening that we've seen several times in various movies, and so we wanted to use that because when you see that, usually audiences their first initial thought is that this is the protagonist. Now, what we did was we flipped that on its head, and rather this is one of the antagonists of the moment. And so the opening sequence is watching this character wake up, and we see an alarm that foreshadows what's later to come, saying Blitz Domingo. And Domingo Flores is the name of character that later appears. But so the character that we're following waking up, his name is Doubleback, DB, and he's actually a robber. He's a thug. He's a criminal. And so we're following him waking up, getting ready, leaving the house, and going over to rendezvous at his partner in crime's house, ZB. And we see them getting ready. And what wasn't shown in the film, because we're limited to 2 minutes and we planned for quite a bit more, was that what was going to happen was these two characters were going to confront, rob, and murder Domingo Flores. But then, once they tossed him into a trunk, the trunk would close. Then Domingo Flores would open, would awake, revealing that the past scene was entirely just a dream. It was a manifestation of his worries, his anxieties, because he has borrowed money to help him, to help his mother pay for payments. They're about to get foreclosed, and he had to take out loans from some shady characters. And so it was manifestations of those anxieties, which and what we really wanted to play with was dreams being misconstrued reality almost. So what we were going to do was have the two characters, ZB and DB, call Domingo Flores, revealing that these are people that he actually knows. And that what happened in the dream was he was being assaulted by people that he knows and that he was close with. So we liked breaching that conventionality of opening with not the protagonist. Another way that we breached conventions was through the use of these strong regional identities. I can't name you a single movie where I've seen an accurate depiction of South Floridians where I can say I know somebody just like that. Uh, we gave these characters voices that are very indicative and similar to what you would typically hear in certain parts of Broward County, Florida, because it's what we are familiar with. Now, I naturally don't talk like that. However, I managed to bring it out for my character, and so did Nathan Gale for his. So we really drew out these characters and their regional identities because that in and of itself is it's not conventional because most films take place in California, the Los Angeles area, which has no representation for us South Floridians. Technology integration. So, in terms of actual filming and recording, our technology integration wasn't anything too impressive. We used an iPhone 14 Pro Max as our camera, which also in turn doubled as our microphone because the audio that was recorded for the voices were also picked up from the video of the recording from the phone. And as you can see in the top right, to simulate the peephole of a door, we used a fisheye lens on the phone to create that effect. And lastly, but most impressively, was our use of the music and production program FL Studio. So as you can see, Yariel Marte here was producing a beat that we used in the film, which is actually one of the ways that we broke away from the conventions. And one of the things that we're most proud of is that we were able to create our own music for the film. So in the sequence where Doubleback is getting ready and walking over to Zoe's house, there is a song that's playing. It's an instrumental, and that instrumental was produced solely by Yariel Marte, and I was there collaborating with him, giving feedback, saying what I thought, and we produced our own music via FL Studio, and I actually have a clip of that. And so whilst we were actually producing the music that we used for the video, I actually recorded a little bit of behind the scenes, which we have here now.
It feels like I just rolled up into. What? It feels like I just rolled up into a new unfamiliar village in like a Souls game.
How I have improved as a filmmaker. So one of the biggest improvements I've made in my filmmaking is the amount of time that I've spent in pre-planning and pre-production. In the beginning of the year, it was almost willy-nilly, and we basically just winged it the entire time. Whereas as the year went on, I and my group members as well learned the importance of pre-planning, pre-production. We wrote an entire storyboard. We scripted out all the scene, and we even planned out the shot composition of the shots. As we can see here, we have a little bit of that on the scene. Because I'm thinking, you start off close, and like as I reach for it,
Yeah.
then you pull out,
Yeah.
and like track the.
I was thinking.
Like that. So that was me discussing with Yariel Marte how we wanted the scene to come out and how we wanted a dollying out effect to where we have the camera back out and pan up and then track the character double back as he walks over. And so we really improved how the shots came out in those regards just because of how meticulously we planned out each and every shot, as well as our cuts. So in planning we also managed to discuss, okay, we should have a cut here, and then that's when the next shot begins, and that also greatly helped with match cuts. We had nearly no match cuts in the beginning of the year when we did, say, our music video projects, whereas now most cuts are match cuts, which allows for the film to flow beautifully. And there is one jump cut, however, but that was as a result of us not realizing that we had enough footage. We didn't have enough footage in between two shots. But even the jump cut itself isn't too horrendous. Of course, it did irk us a bit because we were like, no, oh man. But there was only one minor jump cut. And just as a continuation, this is another scene that the shot composition we actually mapped out and discussed when we were talking about what we wanted to film when we were pre-planning. We agreed that we wanted a shot where we have a bed in front of a window that we double back can walk over and open the window and then wake up ZB who's seen sleeping. And to add on to that, we another way that we improved was by beginning the action before recording. So we'd say action, actor would begin their movement, and then we would record that way that they're already seen in movement as opposed to having that little, okay, you see them starting to move, which is something that we had as an error in the beginning of the year that we managed to iron out this time. And we actually have a clip from the scene showing the shot composition and the movement in action. Engaging audiences. So we would like Survivor's Guilt to receive a theatrical release via Warner Brothers as the production company. We saw Warner Brothers being the best fit as the production company, given their expertise in the genre and their extensive catalog, having produced movies like New Jack City and the number one influence, Menace to Society. Now, Menace to Society was produced by New Line Cinema, whose parent company is Warner Brothers, so we saw it as the best fit. And to garner hype and buzz around the film, we would upload riveting clips from the film onto social media sites and run ads on sites like TikTok, Instagram, X, YouTube, Facebook, in order to really get people to show out to the movie theaters. And in terms of the target demographic, would definitely be more of an urban youth demographic since they're the ones being portrayed and they're the ones being represented in the film. Many would likely enjoy it, not many would likely enjoy it for the same reason that they enjoy listening to an artist like Kodak Black, not necessarily because they can relate to the experiences or the lifestyle, but merely for the factor of feeling represented because of that strong regional identity. Now, that's not to say it wouldn't be mass appealing, because we feel as though it would be, considering the philosophical and psychological factors that are at play in the film. And so we feel as though it could appeal to a much broader audience. With that being said, the younger audiences would not be able to watch this film since it would not be PG. It would likely either be PG-13 or maybe even higher up, maybe even rated R, mayhaps, depending on how deep we would like to get into it. But we definitely wouldn't want it to be censored or diluted for the sake of getting that younger rating. And with that, I thank you for your time.